Welcome, I'm your host, Matt Ryan from Moderated by Matt. This video will be up on my YouTube channel in a couple of days, so come check out Moderated by Matt, and you can watch the whole thing edited, and my great team will edit out any mistake I make during the Q&A. So our guest today is a film and TV composer who became the first Malaysian to win an Emmy Award, paving the way for so many young composers for her work on Wondla. We're so excited We're so excited to be able to get inside the musical booth with her to see how she brought the wonderful world of Wondla to sonic life. To quote the Wondla aliens, let's please welcome composer and human Joy Ngiaw to the Comic-Con stage.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here.
All right, so we're going to start with a really hardball, tough question. Are you the 8th or 9th iteration of the Joy clone?
Probably the 8th.
8th?
Yeah.
So you're Joy 8?
Yes, I'm Joy 8.
I like it. All right, so let's go back to the beginning. When you first approached to do Wondla, what was it about the story that attracted you and made you want to come on board?
Yeah, I've always been really drawn to sci-fi stories. But something that's so special about Wondla, which was a trilogy written by Tony DiTrelizzi, it's such a humanized story set in a futuristic world. And that, as a composer, that's super exciting because not only we're scoring the adventure, but we're also scoring the emotional world and going along their journey. I mean, I've been on the show for 3 years. And you really grow to love the characters. And as Eva 9, our main character, become the hero that she is all 3 seasons, I feel like I'm growing along with her. The music is growing along with her. And that's always very exciting to spend so much time and love and care with these characters.
Yeah, the world is so unique, vast, and magical. You have to kind of come up with your own rules. Like, it's not a traditional show. So what were your initial thoughts? How are you going to give each character its own theme, but then tying together in a cohesive sonic palette? And at the same time, each world has to have a different theme.
For sure. I mean, Wondla is such a vast and diverse world. There's so many different alien tribes. There's so many different characters. So when I was brought on the show, I made sure to read all 3 books so I understand, the world of Wondla. And then you talk to the filmmakers, and they would tell me like which character would have a theme. Like Eva 9, her theme is the Wondla theme, which will always come up when the logo shows up in every single episode. And then from there you see her relationships, with Mother, the robot, or with Rovender, what's their relationship like? And then with these different alien tribes, you kind of find distinctive characteristics and see, I want to create a world where people want to go to through music. So each different world, I try to look at the costume design, the set design, the production design, and I talked to the team, and they were so inclusive of me to tell me what their inspiration is. And then from there, I draw instruments to kind of signify these different worlds. So then when our characters go to that world, we're in the world of Lacus, or we're in the world of Solace. And I think music plays a huge part into setting the tone and setting, where the characters are, and that's the beauty of music and animation.
Do you think animation gives you a little more freedom compared to live action? Because the fact that you have to invent everything, where live action you have more strict rules.
For sure. I think music and animation becomes kind of the voice of the characters a lot, and that's when I feel like there's no creative boundaries. You just kind of our filmmakers are so encouraging for me to just try something new and throw in instruments that's unconventional. And I think the result of that is to create a score that's very unique to that world and that character and that tribe. I've always wanted to do that.
All right, so let's dive right into Wondla. Let's start with your opening sequence, which I assume took a little while because you're setting everything. You got Eva and I living in a bunker, from a baby to a rebellious teen.
Yes.
And you did that only in a couple of minutes. How did you want to establish her theme there and kind of show her growth very quickly, and also set up your rules for the world? Yeah,
that was really nostalgic because, the first opening is just an empty bunker, and you hear, it sets with the tone is it's the beginning of something so exciting, and then you hear the robot mother humming a lullaby to Eva 9 as a baby. And that was really cool. I got to record Terry Hatcher to her voice as the humming. But I think that sets up the world, isn't it? Because the melody she hears as a baby. Then when we see her again, Mother, the robot, come again in season 3, we hear that melody again. So it's a very like full circle moment, and it's like the perfect episode to establish themes and establish, the tone of the score.
One of the things I love about the show is it constantly, it always ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
How do you do that musically when you end an episode? How's that something where you always want to what kind of instrument, what do you do to get us hooked for the next episode?
It depends on the episode for sure. And like the end of the first episode of season 1, most of the episode we spend time with her in the sanctuary, just her and Mother. And the end of the episode is the beautiful, beautiful visuals of Obona when she comes out of the sanctuary being chased by our villain, Bastille. And I remember that shot is incredible. You guys got to check out the show because Skydance Animation and their visual team did such an amazing job. Beautiful, beautiful, inspiring visuals. And I remember when the shot of her looking at the beautiful sky, I just added vocals. It's like, that's kind of like a signature sound I have of my scores, is to record my own vocals. And it's just something exciting to end the series, and hopefully people continue to watch, her story.
You mentioned Bastille. Okay, so now we're in the dangerous world. She did not know would be dangerous. How did your music change for that episode? And starting with Bastille, what did you change musically to kind of show the world is not what she thought it was? Yeah,
Bastille was fun. I mean, the filmmakers wanted the score to be very otherworldly, so I wanted to try different things. Like for a villain, I actually used a erhu, which is completely out of the box, but I used a erhu, but I added a bunch of distortion and like these effects to make it sound almost like a monster growl, but you would never know it's a erhu. And I just like to throw in little Easter eggs in there and try to make a sound that's very unique to that character. So then when he comes up, it's always his theme. It's always that like erhu growl thing. And I just thought it was fun to just make sounds out of unconventional instruments.
That's an interesting note because we have a lot of composing students that watch. The idea of, so every time you use a certain instrument, you might foreshadow Bastille showing up.
Yeah.
It's a tricky, so do you like doing that, kind of manipulating the audience a little, kind of pre-setting up a big moment which the audience can't see yet, they're only listening to your music?
It depends on the spotting, because sometimes and that's something we discuss in spotting sessions with the filmmakers. Like, they will say when they want, do we want to foretell that something's bad is happening, or do we not want to, give it away and just surprise the audience? So that's always like what we talk about as composers with the filmmakers in spotting. Where do you want the music to come in, and what kind of effect is it serving? And that's always like a conversation between the filmmakers, yeah.
Interesting. All right, so now we're going to talk about, hands down, the best and most complex character, I would argue, ever in an animated series. A character I relate to because he liked to call Roby something I'm often called a stinky blue man. Of course, I speak of the awesome character Otto, for you Wondla fans. How fun was it creating a theme for him and introducing us musically when we flew on his back with the characters?
I mean, Otto's one of my favorites too. He's just a goofball, and he's like the dog in the series. And that scene when Eva and Rovinder flies with Otto on his back in the beautiful Urbona sky, it was very whimsical. You want the audience to feel that it's full of wonder. This is a beautiful, wondrous world, and through music, I wanted to have that whimsical feeling. So I added some like vocal textures and lush orchestration, long strings, and just make it so it feels like the world is expanding, and you're flying. You're falling in love with this beautiful world, and I really had fun scoring that scene.
Plus, it's also, from a character standpoint, it's the first time she could telepathically talk to an animal.
Yeah.
So you have to. How did that process go? Because now you have to establish a kind of a strange communication thing that doesn't happen normally.
Yeah, there's a little bit of comedy in that as well, and you're establishing, kind of setting up the tone of Eva, because she is, such an empathetic, loving human. She approaches the world with such curiosity and openness, and her being able to communicate with the aliens is one of her strengths, and is, setting up for the rest of the series of how she becomes the hero. Yeah.
But now, what we do have, which I am really impressed, a little dark side, Rovi, a survivalist who lost his family and kind of lost himself,
Yeah.
you know, for so long. How did you curate his kind of tragic theme and kind of the flip side, really the flip side of Eva?
Yeah, I mean, Rovinder, he's a wanderer. You know, he's kind of a loner. And when I read the books, he's one of the, him and Eva 8 are one of the most complex characters in the book. So we wanted to create a theme of Rovinder that's kind of like he's just umming along, like being a wanderer himself. However, he also has a really tragic love story, family story, and his backstory. So that theme, that melody, which was played on a jubal flute, kind of like an ethnic flute, has a lot of like grounding percussions to kind of accompany it. I have to make sure that melody can also be like a sadder version of that, which we'll see in season 2. So yeah, that was a really fun character to write music for.
You mentioned before, though, about how you got to decide how much information you want to reveal about a character with the filmmaker as a hide. You weren't sure if he was a good guy at the beginning, so how did that change? Did you have to change his theme a little when we start falling in love with him?
Yep.
Because we didn't fall in love with the first episode, like he was kind of.
Yeah, and that's something that composers do with their themes. Like the melody that you write for the character, it has to be able to, depending on what's going on screen, you create different variations. Like maybe there's a suspenseful version, there's a mischievous version, but you're using that melody, but you're manipulating it with like chords or instruments or something. And that is the way to kind of guide the audience and let the audience be involved in the characters, because we're playing from Eva 9's point of view. So when she's not sure about him, and when we meet him, we don't know if he's like, who he is. The music's a bit more suspenseful there. You're still using his theme and still using his flute. So it's just a trick with composers, like when you're writing themes, like try to write different variations of the theme in different moods and different, and it helps tell the story that way.
Now, that's a dark character thing, but there's also fun stuff.
Yeah.
And especially, how does a composer wrap their head around an action scene like spiderfish races?
That was fun. Spiderfish was set in Lacus, so it was using the Lacus instrumentation, which again, like that was the first year when scoring Wondla. I wasn't scoring to picture, I was experimenting with instrumentation. So Lacus, it's a fisherman village, and I wanted the music to be, I was so inspired by the art that the team showed me. It's like all these intertwined ropes and African-inspired infrastructure. So I was like, that's cool, let's throw in a bunch of African percussion, and I was very inspired by this instrument called the bolophone. So all these instrumentation, I used it in the spiderfish races, because again, it's like, you're immediately showing the audience we're in Lacus, and this is a race. It's a fun race, but we're setting the scene that this is in this location. So it was just fun to write like action music that had those unique instruments. Yeah.
It's interesting. You just triggered a question for you. For TV composers, you have to know a wide range of music around the world, because you never know what you're going to be called on to do.
For sure, and I did a lot of research as well. There was this really cool percussion shop near me called Motherland Music, and I remember there was one day I just went and there was a drum circle, and there was just people playing drums and like just jamming, with the unique like African instruments, and that's actually where I discovered the bolophone, because there was this guy playing this like really cool like xylophone looking instrument that has all these like shells at the bottom, and I asked him what it was, and he said it's called a bolophone, and people used to play that in the forest, like a call and response between the birds, something like that. So I really like to be immersed in this kind of like storytelling thing and just learn from musicians and try to see if I can add it to my music.
Now, also, ecological disaster must be challenging to create musically. My favorite representation of this is a sequence above the acid river, and your dead city, the ruined city, a la Planet of the Apes. How does instrumentation change when you want to capture a dead world?
Yeah, that was a devastating scene, because the whole season 1 we're following Eva being super excited. There are other humans out there. Like I want to see I want to meet other humans. But when we get to that scene is when she's like, oh, but all the humans are dead. So I think in those scenes, like I wanted to create kind of like a eeriness because you see like really tragic, like empty rooms and empty like gravelands. So I used a lot of choirs to have that like echo sounds. There was a lot of space in the music to just let the audience feel, and you're just with her. You're with Eva 9, and you're with her emotional journey. How devastating it is that everything she thought she can find, it's not there. So yeah, that was a devastating one.
All right, so now we're going to show a clip of a very special character, Eva 8.
Oh yeah.
And we'll talk about on the other side. Do you want to say anything to set her up, the clip?
Yeah, this is the opening of season 3, and you'll see our main character, Eva 8, and this episode. Do you want to see it first before we
It's up to you. No, just generally, like, where are we at, or at least for the audience?
Yeah, I mean, this is spoilers. We don't know if Eva 9 is alive, and this episode we're focusing on Eva 8. So this is her theme that I wrote specifically for her, and in this episode, we use her theme throughout, and it's on purpose because usually when the Wondla logo shows up, we hear 9's theme, but this time we just hear 8. So this scene is just it's like the audience will hear her theme in full force, and I'm really excited. We can talk about it after.
Yeah. One of the things I love about doing this is because we all watch this on streaming and we get to see it on the big screen. There's something really special about it, especially with an audience. So thank you. Okay, so yeah, you had the challenge of you're starting the season premiere from a whole different theme.
Yeah.
They're sisters. They're kind of opposite in some ways. How did you want to tie them together, but also make her unique thematically?
Yeah, Eva 8, once I read the books, I knew I was the most excited to write her theme because she's such a complex, full of, depth character. And she is like the opposite of Eva. Like she kind of sees the world through a very darker lens. And it's not because, of anything, it's just because that's her survival instinct. She has to see the world through survival instead of curiosity. So her theme is, in contrast to the Wondla theme, it's much more reserved, it's much more guarded. But at the same time, like she actually wants to be loved. She wants to feel that she belongs somewhere. So when I started writing her theme, it was from the piano first, and the melody is kind of like, it's dark, but also there's a beauty in it. And it's like, it constantly goes up and then comes down again, goes up and comes down again, kind of like she wants to go out of, she wants to go in and, open her heart, but she's still guarded. So it's like a push and forth. So I it was a exciting space for the composer, for me to be in. Like I felt really like, I love scoring when something's, dark and light, or like, happy and sad. And like that like middle complex space is something I really like to exist in. And I feel like for Eva 8's theme, we really got to do that.
That really mixed well in that scene for the fans of the show when 9 wanted to help the butterfly, I forget his name, survive. And
Dawasu.
And 8 says, they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
And she was right. Mm-hmm. How did you balance that? Because you have two opposing themes then, the light and dark, all within one moment.
Yeah, that is the difference between those two characters, right? One approaches with love, one approaches with more cautious. And in that scene in particular, it starts off really loving because there's like a Dawasu, it's kind of like showing Eva 9, like these are my eggs, like these are my children. And it's very dreamy, there's a lot of vocals, a lot of like, synth, beautiful textures. But then it switches and becomes a monster, and that's when it, 8 comes and saves 9 and be like, no, don't trust anyone. Like that's also the thing about the music. Like you're constantly trying to show the different opposing viewpoints. Neither is good or bad. It's just they just have you develop a sort of empathy for the two of them, that they're seeing the world a different lens because they have a different backstory.
But they love each other, which is my favorite part. Yeah, they're drawn to each other.
Yeah, and they're sisters. So I think it pays off a lot in the end of season 3. A little bit of spoilers also. But like when 8 finally opens her heart and sees that there's a famous line in the book and the show, there's no them, only us. It's a beautiful theme of the Wondla series of, how do we relate to each other? How do we have empathy? How do we, see each other as one. So yeah.
One thing, it must be great for a composer and all the other artists from it. Wondla never talks down to the audience of kids.
No.
It doesn't pull punches. It doesn't, soften it. Especially in, actually, one of my favorites, the 5th episode of season 2, when we go into Rovander's backstory.
Yeah.
And through his dreams, like almost as he goes through his dreams. What went into that? And that's a very dark backstory moment.
Yeah, I mean, grief is a universal emotion, right? Like, like everybody in the world feels that no matter what language you speak, like what gender you are, where you're from, like, and that is, you're right, like Wondla never shies away from that. And that episode, we dive in so much into why Rovander is the way he is. He's also very guarded as well, why he's so distrusting. And, again, is using his theme, but in the saddest depiction of it, when he loses his family, when he's trying to protect his tribe. Then you understand these characters, like why is like Faunus, which is where he's from, why are they so guarded? Is because of that, because of this tragic story that happened to him and his family. And again, through music, is using his theme and showing the saddest version of that, I think helps.
Now we're going to talk about, we're going to show a clip of, we dive into your Emmy-winning episode, the season 2 finale called The Heart. This is dark.
Yes.
Anything you want to say to set up the clip that we're going to watch?
Yeah, this is honestly one of my favorite scenes ever to score. I think the music came from such a genuine place. It's just one of my favorite scenes. It's when Eva 9 is connecting with the heart of the forest. So enjoy. It's so emotional. Yeah.
I think now seeing on the big screen, it's kind of obvious why you won the Emmy for that, because that was beautiful.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much.
But light and dark. I mean,
Yeah,
she
beautiful.
is wounded and dying. We also have, Cadmus steals, going on. A lot of things going on. How did you do that? So all the emotion running through, and even the last shot is very.
It's very emotional.
We're very worried.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, as you saw, it's such an emotional scene, and I remember when I approached them, like, how do I score that? That's such a big moment. They're connecting. But it's really a score like about hope and love, and she, Eva's opening her heart to the heart, and so I started the piece with like a solo cello, and then. As the heart is like ascending towards Eva, and then a solo violin. So they start to have like a conversation almost, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, the musicians absolutely killed it. Like there's nothing, other than like live musicians. They really brought the score to life, and it's heartbreaking and painful, but then also beautiful at the same time. Again, like just a space that I just love to be in. Like and so after the violin and the cello has like a conversation almost, the strings kind of swell and picks up with her as we go into her mind. It's a very emotional scene, and what kills me for that scene too is just when we come out of that and she's in the bunker and it's just solo piano. It's so fragile, and her line when she says, "Am I dreaming?" Like to me, it's like a heartbreaking moment for me. I'm like, you follow the characters for 2 seasons and you don't know if she's dreaming and what's happening. So I don't know. I really hope I depicted that through my score.
But then you cut to, we have really the death scene, let's call it,
Yeah.
for what it is. Then you have the world dying.
Yeah.
Like we see that the heart has been really stolen,
Yeah.
and you see the world dying. How did you compose for, adding that to it?
Yeah, that's also a giant task. I mean, the filmmakers put it a great way. It's like a requiem for Obona. Our planet that we fell in love with is dying, and I went full out with orchestra. I went like giant choirs, giant strings, brass, like all the section, just to show that the world is dying. After the planet, explodes, and then it fades to end credits. Instead of doing like a big full-blown orchestration, I just did a solo cello as the end credits. kind of like Game of Thrones style, because you don't know what, it's devastating. So I had fun with that one.
It also feels like death then.
Yeah.
You go out quietly, not everything's a bang. It's just
Yeah.
like death is kind of silent. Almost.
I had friends come up to me, you didn't warn me, that was a season finale, and now I have to wait for season 3. But yeah, definitely.
All right, we're going to cut the finale. 8 shoots Rovender.
Yeah.
I mean, that was tragic. But also, for another death scene, emotional when his final words was, Eva, don't be me. Don't
Yeah.
turn into me.
Yeah.
Don't let it change you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Which implies don't be like me. But went into that moment where you kind of, someone who's actually thinking while they're dying of, I don't want you to turn into me.
Yeah, and he says the beautiful line, which is in the end becomes the title of that piece, is called "Help Her Understand Us," because Eva 8 didn't want to shoot Rovender it wasn't out of hate, it was out of fear, and it's because she didn't understand, she didn't understand the aliens. That she was way too scared, and I just thought that ties in with like the biggest theme of Wondla, which is empathy, right? Like being able to relate to one another despite not understanding, then understand each other, love each other, try to, be there for each other. And that was a really heartbreaking scene because Rovender is kind of like a dad to Eva 9. So when he dies, it's very intimate. The score is, very, very emotional, but intimate. And it's a quiet moment between the two of them. And I honestly cried when I watched the scene, when I scored the scene, and I just got really emotional scoring this show because, again, with 3 years with these characters, you really grow to love them. You grow together with them, and so that scene really made me emotional.
And now 8's journey, I mean, she was isolated, darker view of the world.
Yeah.
Really wanted to commit genocide against the animals. Like really wanted. It was really dark. What were your thoughts on the final battle between 8 and 9, the final face-off, where 8 actually gets hope?
Yeah, I've never written that much action music in my life. Like that whole episode was just action music, and it's the payoff is insane. You see these pillar guards, which like these like alien like. And they're standing off with the aliens, and it gets dark. I mean, one of the pillar guards got penetrated through like the chest, which I was surprised. I'm like, good on Apple. But it's like it's dark, so it's again orchestration-wise is like full force, like synths, full orchestra, percussion, like. It's just a giant battle, and I think it pays off with the last episode. Then it become the emotional scenes. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a challenge as a composer. But again, it also kind of like challenges the stereotype of women composers not being able to score like giant action music. And I was really happy I got to stretch that muscle in this show. Yeah.
All right, we're going to show a clip of the final resolution. So for the audience, if you don't want any spoilers, we will bring out Otto, and you could ride on his back, and they'll take you into the lobby. So for a few minutes. So do you want to set up the finale? Or?
Yeah, it's the season finale, and it's beautiful, very, very beautiful, and yeah. Sorry for the spoiler, guys, but yes. I love this show.
Wow.
I love this show. It's such a good show. It's truly one of my proudest projects. I get emotional watching it.
Well, it's like we've been on such a tough ride. What was it like for you musically to kind of wrap it up in such a great note? And I especially like when communicating with her sister.
Yeah,
going back to the original theme.
the hey sis part. I mean, it's really following the story, and when the planet regrows, like the filmmakers are like, we want to hear the theme, the most, the Wondla theme, the most hopeful, beautiful, like. Beautiful way, because the planet's coming back to life, and yeah, I mean it's a theme. I hope the payoff is really great, because by the time we're in here, we follow the characters for all 3 seasons, and we hear this theme constantly, playing. So it's it was very emotional. I remember when I finished scoring this scene, I was like, oh, I'm done with the theme. Like this is a melody I used for 3 years. So it's like I was so immersed in this world, and when she was talking to her sister via the flowers, it was like a very emotional moment. When she reconnects with Rovender, also very emotional. It's a beautiful way to end the series, I think, and I love the dialogue. Like there is no them, only us. You know, it's truly the best way to end the series. So it's like a celebration almost of this beautiful
Did you
story.
know that's how the series was going to end from the beginning?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so you had the map.
I had the map, and that was also, I was glad I had that whole year of doing the preparation work, of reading the 3 books, because I have an idea of where the story is going to go. So when I was writing the Wondla theme, I had that in mind, that this is where it's going to go. So whatever melody I write, I have to be able to withstand, you know, all 3 seasons and have different developments and different variations. But yeah, it's a beautiful story, and I'm really proud to be involved, and everybody in the show and the studio was, you know, such a labor of love. So I hope it shows.
But now let's get to, well, obviously a lot of other people loved it because you, like I mentioned, you're the first Malaysian artist to win an Emmy Award for the episode Heart, which we saw.
Thank you.
What was the experience like for you on stage, not only accepting the award, but realizing that this will become an inspiration for a lot of young artists that didn't feel that their voices might be able to be heard?
To be honest, when it happened, I blacked out. So I was like in the middle of, I don't really know what I was thinking. But after I processed it, it was more, I mean, I can't believe it. I still am in awe, and just such an honor to be able to accept, especially for a show that I love so dearly. I really, really, you know, everybody that worked on this show loved the characters so much, and I was just really touched that it resonated with people. And if, you know, my story, and, you know, I'm just someone from Malaysia. I came from a small village and moved to the States maybe 11 years ago. If I can do it, I think anyone can. So I feel really honored to be entrusted in this journey. So yeah.
All right, we're here at Comic-Con, so let's go back to your superhero composer origin story. When did you achieve your musical powers and start your musical superhero life?
Yeah, I mean, I'm born in Malaysia, and in the countryside, and my parents always encouraged me and my siblings to try new things, and music was something I grew up with. I always loved playing piano. I played in orchestras and choirs, and I also love movies. I love storytelling. I love connecting with others, and I think it was kind of a calling to me that I want to write music to help people tell their stories and to relate to one another and to have empathy. And it was just a path that I've been on since. I went to school for film composition and been in LA for about 11 years. And but I would never forget my roots, you know, like my values coming from Malaysia. So yeah.
Cool. All right, so if you guys want, we have time for some questions. If you guys want to line up and ask any questions.
I love your costume.
Thank you.
So freaking cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. As a fellow creator, I was curious, how do you deal with, I think I'm using the right terminology, imposter syndrome, or like you're criticizing yourself too much, but then you get feedback from other people and they're like, no, it's good. But then you're just like, I don't think so. I guess that's my question. How do you deal with that?
It's so funny you ask that, because every time I'm in a Q&A, that's the question that I would ask. Like, no joke. That's really what I love to learn from other people as well. Like, how did they deal with imposter syndrome? Because that's definitely something I struggle with a lot. And but every time I ask this question, like people that I admire, they also deal with that. And it's such a humbling thing where I like, oh my God, this is the composer I listened to since I was a kid. And he's like, oh, I feel that all the time. And I think that's a part of being a creative, because I mean, someone told me, like, if you're not feeling that, that means you're not giving your all. If you're like, I'm done, I reached my, you know, this is where I want to be, then that's it, you know, like, but the fact that you're feeling like, I want to be better, like, how can I, you know, how can I become the best version of myself as a human, as a composer, as an artist? Like, I feel like that's amazing that we have that. That's the drive that keeps you going. So I also struggle with that, and I hope just from knowing that other people do makes you feel less alone, and I think you're on the right path, really.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that helped.
As a cellist, I appreciate you embracing the cello and highlighting
I love solo cello. I love writing for cello. It's the best instrument.
My question is, how do you choose when to embrace or avoid common chord progressions or resolutions?
Resolutions. Yeah, I mean, I've learned actually in college that, especially in film scoring, when it's scene after scene and like music after music, like it's normal that sometimes when I write, if I just write for this scene, I want to end the cue. But then when you zoom out and you're seeing what's going on screen, there's still story that's going. So I do try to avoid resolution chords depending on what's going on. But I think it comes with like spotting. In spotting, I talk to filmmakers, like where do they want a scene to end here? Do they want it to transition to another emotion? It's regardless of what it is, it's always about the emotion of the characters. It's always about the story. So I just try my best to score to that emotion, and whatever chord progression comes with that emotion, I try to do that. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi. My question is, when you were working with the design and production team, how was it getting your vision across for the sound of Wondla? Like, was everyone like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense? Or like, I don't know where you're going with this, what are you doing?
You mean like when working with like the production designers, costume designers? When I'm talking to them, I'm trying to learn from what their inspiration is. So that's like before talking about music. I'm talking about, what made you, design like, this, why did you choose this gold color? Why did you choose this fabric? Why do you choose this? I'm just trying to understand their inspiration. And we're not talking anything about music at that point. And I think it's fun because for me, it's like I'm learning about, each department, what is inspiring them, and then it's my job to then translate that into music. So it's a very collaborative, it's a very like, you inspire me, I inspire you kind of thing. And a lot of times, like I like that we get to do that, and it doesn't happen with a lot of teams, but Skydance Animation was just really inclusive to have me on board to talk to these different departments. So yeah, I mean, I think it creates like such a unified and world, because then everyone, it's just a very distinctive sound that we created.
What is your go-to instrument? What do you like? What is your thing that you always have to kind of use?
I have two answers. One, I would say either piano, because that's my first instrument, my first love, since I was 6. But recently I've been leaning more into my voice, and it's because sometimes when I'm not sitting in front of my computer and writing music, I am still thinking about the characters. I'm trying to come up with melodies, and I like to do that anywhere. Inspiration comes anywhere. And so sometimes I'm on a walk, I'll suddenly, oh my God, I like this melody, and I hum it in my head. I'll quickly pull my phone to record it so I don't forget it, or if I'm like doing chores or something. But I like using the voice because I feel like everyone has such a unique voice, and that is the instrument that I have. So I do gravitate towards that a lot, yeah.
And is there anything in Wondla where you were like, I want to challenge myself, or you wanted to go for an instrument maybe you're not as comfortable with, or something you really wanted to push?
Honestly, lots of it, because all the different alien tribes have different instruments from different countries that I never, I don't know how to play them. So it's like the erhu was one. Like, I grew up hearing Chinese traditional instruments. I lived in China for a while, and I love the instrument. I love the sound. I don't know how to play it. So that's like, then I have to learn like what is erhu sound like, what's playable, what's not, and it's just research doing into finding these different unique instruments.
Then for composing students in the audience, would you recommend trying to push your boundaries all the time, not just go for the instrument you're most comfortable with?
I think so. I feel like with each project, not just Wondla, but each project I do, I feel like I'm learning something, and I'm currently scoring a horror short. It's just something that I'm not, that I don't have a lot of experience in, but it's fun. It's like then you're challenging yourself to think outside the box, and how do you score horror? Like what kind of things I can record. I do encourage composers to try new things, and using my voice wasn't something that just randomly happened. It was like I was scoring Skydance animations for a short film, Blush, and that was a short film about breast cancer. My director lost his wife through breast cancer, So the whole theme of that short was family is like our oxygen. And because of that, I used my voice because I'm like, oh, breath, oxygen, like, let's try that. And ever since that short, I'm like, wait, I never thought of using voice as an instrument or like these breath textures and what can I do? What else can I do? And it was just because I experimented with that, with my voice in that short, and I never stopped since. So I do really encourage composers to just think outside the box. Like, you can turn anything into an instrument.
Is there any genre you want to dive into?
I think horror at the moment. I'm really enjoying horror.
Well, it is a very emotional, visceral, of all actually the genres. It's
Yeah.
a certain emotional thing we can all feel with it.
Yeah, and it's also just, again, like pushing creative boundaries. Like, I want to hear, I get really inspired when I hear scores that I've never heard before. And recently I really loved the score to Widow's Bay. It's like, to me, that's such a cool score, like so unique, such a cool use of, woodwinds and horror sounds. And yeah, it's just something I want to do more and just see what else we can create, because there's so much music out there. I love being inspired.
Who are your mentors, inspirations, like things people you studied growing up, film composers or TV composers?
I grew up listening to a lot of Alan Menken because I was a huge Disney kid, 90s Disney kid, and I think it informs a lot of my writing. Also Joe Hisashi, I'm seeing him tonight at the Hollywood Bowl. So he's also someone I really love. I just love animation scores because like the music really does become the voice of the characters. It helps tell the story, it guides the character, it guides the audience. So those are definitely composers I love. Thomas Newman, another one. Like just lots and lots of great music out there, and yeah, I mean, I was really immersed in that world.
So then, what would be all right? So you have to recommend one animated film for students to study.
No, I can't do that.
What Macon? Let's go with Macon. Would you go with?
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I think some ties to Wondla, where they make Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, which was a height. Dark.
Yeah.
Disney was at that time not shying away from telling darker stories.
Yeah, I was joking around with some friends, like during that, I feel like it's a lot of trauma during that time because like all the movies, like a parent dies, like Mufasa dies, and as a kid I'm just like, I don't understand how that works. But it's again, I love that they did that though. It's like, it helps, you guys, you mature fast by watching those things.
Now, what about narrative films, composers, like a live action? And is there anything inspirations you think, or things that?
Yeah, recently I loved like Widow's Bay. So David Fleming, he's great. So many. I mean, Ludwig Göransson, of course. Like it's just the world. I love scores when they really do like world building. Using unique instruments and just create a world. I get really inspired by that. Like when you hear a score and you're like, that's from Widow's Bay, to me that the composer did this job. So like I hope like when people hear Wondla, it's like that's for Wondla. Like that's every project that I tackle, I try to do that and add a unique element to that.
And the thing is, it's interesting when you're building a world, you have to, like you mentioned, you have to then learn world instruments, world music, world sounds.
Yeah, try different things.
I'm curious about your horror, though.
My horror?
Yeah, I'm very curious to see that film.
Yeah, I mean, I did something with Monkey Paw recently, a short film as well. That was really fun. It's called The Pigs Underneath. Actually, I think it's premiering or is playing in LA in Holly Shorts, but this one's with Blumhouse, and that's also really fun. So there's a lot of studios right now taking chances on up and coming composers, which I really appreciate because I think that the industry needs new voices, and I love hearing new composers and new perspectives, and yeah.
It sounds like then for up and coming composers, you recommend doing shorts as a way to experiment with different genres and maybe not get labeled like I only can do this.
Yeah, 100%. Because shorts is like the perfect way for people to. You also get to see how your collaboration is like with the director. You try different genres, you experiment, and I 100% advocate for composers to do shorts. I still do shorts. Like it's a fun way to really test and try new things for sure.
Well, Sally, this is all the time we have today. I want to thank Comic-Con and Apple TV.
Thank you.
Especially Apple TV for those wonderful clips that they edited and they really put it together for us, gave us high quality. And I want to thank you, Joy, because you really opened up your musical heart.
Thank
and
you.
sharing your insights into Wondla. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you. And thank you guys for coming. Like, thank you so much. It means the world. This is my first solo panel, so thank you guys for being here.